Well, hello there. I just had to make sure everything was working. I had a funny feeling that something was not working then, but anyway, hello there. I hope you are all well, you amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. It's Tuesday, baby, and it's 3 for Tuesday. Better than Domino's over here. Better than Domino's. We're going to get straight into it because we've got a fair bit to go through today, and I've got to somehow try to make sure that the live doesn't cripple the videos. And anyway, if you want to help me help the homeless people at Christmas, there's a link pinned in the comments below. Go head over, only if you can. Look after yourselves first. Hug watch, first of all. Hug watch, hug watch, hug watch. Huggy Wuggy strikes again. She is this time hugging Sergio Gore, and if you look closely here, you can see her hand in his hair. This does indeed seem to now be habitual, the serial hugger, as she is hugging yet another man. Oh, and what we also do see is, having already been caught by, I don't know what this hair is all about, but Mr. Trump, President Trump, he is making sure that there is clearly a table between the pair. He is not getting caught up in those clutches again. Yes, he's protecting himself. You stay over there, love. You stay over there. I know what you want. You want to run your fingers through my hair. That's hug watch. Hug watch. Anyway, what are we talking about today? Let me just come back up here. So, Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. He gets killed in the public, and there has been an abundance of theories that have come out. And, you know, we should look at everything. If you've got half a brain, rarely you should be thinking, do you know what, I'm not just going to believe what I'm told and believe that the best thing to do is not use my actual brain and just accept what those in power tells me. You should be looking at everything, exhausting every possibility. So at the end of it, when you are offered a conclusion, you are satisfied that the conclusion is the right one and you haven't just been hoodwinked. And Charlie Kirk's death, I think that a lot of us are thinking that there are people who are powerful who are trying to hoodwink us, and some of us just are not going to accept it. First of all, what we need to do is look at this, because a lot of people are saying that Charlie Kirk faked his own death. And this is one thing that I'm a little bit fed up of trying to offer a rebuttal to. And if you have time, go over to Trigger Smart and watch the video, Did Charlie Kirk Fake His Death? The video is 13 minutes long, so not a massively long video, but I'm just going to show you a couple of stills from the video, not even play you the video, just to show you how ludicrous the squib load theory is. Now, what Trigger Smart is going to tell you, he's going to obviously speak about Hollywood and how they obviously use squib loads all the time, for whether it be bullet effects in bodies or whether they use bullet effects in walls. It's the same kind of system. There's two primary systems. One is an air, where they use like an air canister, which I'm going to show you the setup just to show that's just ludicrous. That definitely wasn't that. And another would be a pyrotechnic charge of some description, some actual explosion. But what you're seeing on screen here is the padding. Is basically what you have here is this section here is what they stick to the body. Then you've got this metal plate here that protects the person from the explosive charge. And then you've got the explosive charge, which is here, this tiny piece of red. And then what they basically do is they then put this over the top, which is a canister of blood. Now, bearing in mind that Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck, so not under the t-shirt, but in the neck, this entire setup would have had to have been on the side of his neck. So there would have had to have been a prosthetic of some description put over his neck that would have made him look like he had fucking mumps. And he certainly didn't. There's enough photographs. You can go and do your own homework. You can see very clearly that Charlie Kirk hasn't got anything round his neck. He hasn't got mumps. He doesn't look like there's anything there. And you couldn't have hidden all of this without it being seen. Not unless we're saying that every single bit of footage that we've seen has been doctored some way, shape, or form. And look, I know that is what's going to be said now, but this is what you're dealing with. So if anybody's thinking that this was a faked death in front of thousands of people, that is the setup that you're looking at. And this is with a pyrotechnic charge. Now, if you want to go down the route of the gas canister version, and that would be the switch, by the way. So generally, it would have really have had to have been Charlie who triggered that, because a wire would have had to have gone to him. A remote detonation charge on one of these, there's so many things that can go wrong that I just can't. You can't even go down that route. It would, if he's in on it and he's faking his own death, he would have had a hardwired charge just to eliminate any possible issues with a wireless charge. But if we then look at the gas canister one, so you do away with the explosive charge, this is what you're looking at. So this entire rig here with this compressor style unit at the back. And this is Hollywood. So they're using the state-of-the-art equipment. And don't even get me on the fucking hologram thing. Hologram cameras, it takes multiple cameras to produce a holographic image. And a holographic image that is that good that it can fool fucking thousands of people as they're walking about and talking and interacting with people. Oh my word. We're not there yet. We ain't there yet. Maybe in a few years' time that'll be happening, but we ain't there yet. But so the faking his death theory, it doesn't hold any weight. But the biggest thing that you have got to deal with in all of this is this here, which Peak Prosperity, they've got a channel on YouTube. If you're following the Charlie Kirk case, I'm sure that you've followed the channel, you know who they are. And they did a video, can a human neck stop a 30-06 round? And they basically spent $10,000 to recreate the exact situation, the exact scenario that Charlie Kirk was apparently assassinated in. And I'm going to quickly go through this with you because this is basically their breakdown of that video. So if you haven't got an hour plus to watch the video and see what actually happened, this is going to be a short summary that absolutely shows that just spending $10,000, and I say just $10,000, that's a hell of a lot of money, but what I'm saying is from a how do you disprove this entire debacle that has become the Charlie Kirk assassination? It took 10 grand, and basically it completely shreds the entire narrative that we've been pushed. I mean, just rips it up, wipes her ass on it, and throws it out the window. The whole narrative just appears to be nothing more than arse rag. And this is what they say, right? We're busy doing the FBI's work. Again, in these experiments, we show that a close mimic of a human neck, which they use pork roasts, and a gel block, both prove that a human neck could not have stopped a 30-06 round, and explain the movement of Charlie's t-shirt and his broken necklace. This is the important part, because this is what some people are using. The movement of the shirt, they're using that to say that there was some kind of explosive charge under his clothing that shot a projectile up into the neck, that while completely dismissing the laws of physics. And I think if you're believing that there was something under his t-shirt over here that fires up and somehow sort of defied physics and then went through the front of the neck, I don't know, unless they're trying to say that it went in somewhere under the t-shirt and then out through the neck. Who knows? But I showed you a video that showed the actual microphone, the DJI setup that Charlie uses. There's no fucking way, hell on earth, that you are rigging something inside that unit that would do what you're saying that it will do. There isn't no way that it would do it. And we have spoken on that. I'm not going to go on to that at length, because this is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to say that the story that you're being told, which so many people out there are trying to offer credence to or question anybody that questions it, I challenge you now to explain this. So this is going to go for even to the T-shirt and the broken necklace. So it says here, look. The official story of Charlie Kirk's public execution murder is that Tyler Robinson, acting alone, used his grandfather's old Mauser Model 98 30-06 from the roof of the Lozzie building at UVU, sending a single round 140 yards into Charlie's neck, where the bullet somehow took a hard pivot and went down into Charlie's body instead of exiting out the back. That's the story. That's what we're being told happened. And it's important to understand, if you're offering credence to anything, this is what you're offering credence to. Unsatisfied with this, from years of gun range and ballistics experience, I decided to have Nick from the Peak Prosperity team run some experiments for us all. Today we're going to conclusively answer the question, was Charlie Kirk shot with a 30-06 from the purported position on the Lozzie building at UVU from a distance of 140 yards? Secondarily, we also wanted to see if we could recreate the movements of Charlie's shirt and address the broken necklace chain. After these experiments, cutting to the chase, here's what we concluded. There's no chance a neck muscle only trajectory stopped a 30-06. Not impossible. No chance. There's no chance even a bone involved trajectory stopped the same round. No, couldn't have done it. The gel block shots recreate Kirk's shirt and necklace movements almost perfectly. So that kind of debunks the theory that this had to have been caused by an explosive device under the T-shirt. This in itself, being shot, is enough to recreate that movement. So it says, the audio data from the shooting is fully supportive of the conclusion that Charlie was struck by a supersonic round, almost certainly fired from a rifle, which we've covered the audio segment of this. We've gone over it, we've spoken about it at length. It would certainly seem that the what you're hearing is indeed indicative of that rifle being shot with that round, which is interesting. It's interesting. Right, so here we go, look. There are three things to ponder. A hypothesis for a 30-06 round to stop in Charlie's body. As has been claimed, he would have been shot at very steep angles, both downward and side to side. So what we're saying is he could have been shot with that style rifle, that style round, but not from where they're claiming Tyler Robinson shot from. So if you've got someone further away and in a different location, that could then explain what you're seeing. The dispute is that round being shot from where they're claiming Tyler Robinson shot it from. That's your issue. That's your issue. Not so much the weapon or the bullet that was used. It's where it was fired from. That's the biggest bone of contention here. It says, otherwise we'd have to entertain extremely exotic 30-06 rounds or possibly another caliber entirely, which we will do if or when such evidence is presented. If Tyler Robinson's defense does not adopt this data, they are in on the fix. And again, I think this is very important to understand. If his defense team doesn't address this issue, then it is indicative that they are indeed conspiring to let this slide, and it shouldn't do. To do this, my team spent roughly 4 days and $10,000 to replicate the conditions as closely as possible. To simulate a human neck, we used pork picnic roast to match the diameter and muscle density of a human neck. Further, some of them were bone-in, and so we shot straight at the bone to see if that might stop, or at least meaningfully deflect a given 30-06 round. We brought a camera capable of capturing 480 frames per second. and used a second GoPro camera capturing 240 frames per second. This is obviously to see whether the bullet could be captured in flight, and to obviously slow down the aftermath of the movement of the shirt, the chain, everything. It's to try and capture that as accurate as possible. So we used a 150 grain full metal jacket and 180 grain ballistic tip hollow point and a 220 grain soft point. These are the most common loads you might encounter if you walked into a sporting goods shop and bought 30-06 ammo. All were shot from a Remington Model 700 bolt action 30-06 to mirror the Mauser Model 98 bolt action closely. Spoiler, after 38 shots at either the muscle only or straight through the bone in the center of the roasts, no bullets were stopped or even meaningfully deflected. None, zero, nada. All of them not only went straight through the roasts, they did so easily and with a lot of power to spare, dragging along huge plumes of pork bone and muscle ejecta. As a second order of business, we wished to see if we could mimic and film the behaviour of Charlie's shirt and broken necklace, which has been the cause of quite a bit of internet speculation, which I completely agree with. A lot of people are using that movement of the shirt, as aforementioned, to say that this was either a fake death or this was something more kind of in depth, more kind of law-abiding citizen, that sort of thing. Many have thought that the movement and puffing out of Charlie's shirt must have been the result of an explosion and worked diligently to explain it that way, but our results clearly show that the cavitation event caused by a high-energy rifle round perfectly mirrors what was seen that day. Only we've got it in high definition and high frame rate so our brains can make better sense of it all. 3 out of 3 times the necklace Nick hung around the gel block broke despite never being hit by the bullet. So the chain was broken just by force alone. It wasn't even hit by the bullet. That's how much force we're talking about. And I've spoken about this in the past, but people are like, no. The cavitation alone was sufficient to break it. The violence of the 30-06 was captured over and over again in high definition, showing almost unbelievable cavitation damage that easily mimicked the chest and neck expansion we saw on Kirk that day, as well as the wild t-shirt movements. So this is their setup. Obviously the camera's here, the gel block, the t-shirt just hung over it, and then we've got this here. Gel block shot, flame free, 480 frames per second, showing the t-shirt flying away from the gel block and the neck expansion. Look at that. So it's the neck expansion, the force through the body that lifts that t-shirt. That's what's causing that to lift. The pressure caused. Here, look. And the chain's broken here, look. And flying up, just as we saw. Again, that movement of that t-shirt. And these are frames, these pictures, this is frames. So frame 3 and frame 32. So this is all happening incredibly quick. 480 frames per second. And this is what you see in frame 3, frame 32. Those who say, well, sometimes bullets do strange things, I once saw a deer wound that, simply aren't aware of the physics involved. Those who see strange bullet wounds on the battlefield probably aren't accounting for the calibers involved. 5.56 is not even remotely comparable, or the trajectories involved, ricochets or being shot at a steep angle because of lying down or from a very far distance, which changes the terminal velocity and performance data enormously. Our data shows that a 30-06 round fired from 100 yards is a true beast of a round and a human neck, neither with bones involved or not, is simply no match, at least not at a relatively flat 10-degree angle. Now, a steeper angle, that's another story, or an exotic round, or possibly it wasn't a 30-06 at all. But without the autopsy data, X-rays, or the actual cartridge supposedly used, was still in something of a guessing game. We call on the FBI to release the appropriate information to limit the guessing. We call upon TPUSA to release the other footage they have. We call upon the state of Utah to release the autopsy photos, X-rays, and or other data. Or at a minimum, we call upon Tyler Robinson's defense team to gather this data, to work with a competent crew who can help pass the data appropriately. Until we get more data, our conclusion is that Charlie Kirk was shot with a high-powered rifle round, possibly a 30-06, but not from the stated location on the Lossy building. The actual shooting location had to be both at a higher angle and a steeper off-axis location. That's the only way a 30-06 round could have possibly stayed within his body. And that was the conclusion made by Peak Prosperity and their team after spending $10,000 and recreating the narrative, if you like, that we have been pushed, the story, the version, and shown that the biggest question of all, the only question that matters is the round. The rifle, the round, the location. They do not seem to be marrying up. And in this world, the real world, and I'm paraphrasing now from Candace Owens, in the real world, necks don't stop this round in the way that we've been told it does. And just by saying that someone is Superman, the Man of Steel, Wolverine, just ain't gonna wash. Love you all, and I'll catch you all later.